All right, what is going on, everyone? We are back. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I've noticed recently I've hit a bit of a creative roadblock while composing music for our indie game Dracs After Dusk, and there's still a lot of music that needs to be made. For some inspiration, typically what I like to do when I am in this situation is gravitate towards rescoring soundtracks that really inspire me. And one I've been wanting to go after for a little while now is from Captain America Winter Soldier, called Taking a Stand. This has to be my favorite track out of any Marvel movie. I think there's these incredible rising and falling motifs and melodies, and the orchestration just harmonizes really well with each other. It's very rich and dynamic. It also instills a lot of themes of duty and sacrifice, standing up for what's right. This specific piece is played twice in the movie. The first being when he's fighting off Hydra in the elevator. I think he beats 15 guys to a pulp. And then secondly is the very last shot of the movie and cutting into the end credits. All right, so we're gonna head over to FL Studio and attempt, keyword attempt, to try and recreate this. First thing I like to do is just give this a couple listens through. I'd throw this song on anytime I went on a run. It just felt freaking epic. So I definitely do have some familiarity with this track already, but obviously now diving in, want to give it some more active listening. The things I'm looking for, just a general landscape of what are the different sounds and instruments. There's already a lot going on there. You can hear big cinematic impact that drops you into, I think, some cellos and double basses. 6/4, 5/4 timing, which I think gives it a nice, like, unpredictable rhythmic pace. Okay, and there's that awesome brass rip into the crescendo, and then you start to hear the little toms and the drums. I think there's like triplet violas. That's a really cool rhythmic technique against the cellos and double basses. Really suspenseful brass, building up some tension there. And there's this really cool da 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 da. So there's that triple hit. Right before the timpani roll and the crash, and we roll into that really heroic first verse here. So the way I'm thinking about this is we got an intro here, start to introduce our drums, some more violas, swell that up into the first verse. Wow, that sound is so cool, that sound effect. Some marching band percussion. There's a lot going on there. Won't get into too much detail, but they're bringing in the full ensemble. I think one thing that's pretty clear so far is the different tones and story that Henry Jackman, the composer, is painting in the soundtrack. In the beginning, there's this sense of danger, fast rhythmic movement, but we're just sitting on one note. And then, that swells up where the brass starts to get some movement, and we lead into this really epic, heroic verse, which really embodies the hero archetype. That gives us a lot to chew off of. I'm not going to go through in full detail how I would break down this song just for the sake of time in the video. So I'm going to do that off video and then come back once we have a good idea of the different instruments that we want to use. All right, so we got our instruments picked out after giving the song a listen. Our strings, our brasses, our drums and percussion, our bass synth, and then our different impacts that we use. Now we need to take these different sounds and shape them as if a musician were actually playing these instruments. The first thing I want to start with is really nailing that first section. So I believe we are in D minor. We're starting on the 1 with that double bass cello sound. Then there's that epic brass rip in the beginning. And so we can shape this sound with some different expression and dynamics. And expression is just pure volume, whereas dynamics actually changes the timbre, the sound quality. You can really hear the difference when we start to shape that. And then we got our violin spiccato pattern. So in the key of D minor, we're going 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 2, and then back to the 1. Then we start to introduce some tension with our brass. So we got the E and the F, the 2 and the 3 rubbing against each other. And then that flows into that brass coming back on the 1 for the bass. So then we're going all the way D to C. So a full-on minor 7th. For percussion, we got some toms ripping here. It's cool, there's this really busy section before it loops back. We're just sitting on the key of D. Then we start to introduce our kick drum. It's pretty boomy. It's definitely got a lot of punch to it. And then we introduce that high frequency sound I was describing. This one was tough. The closest thing I could find is just this shaker on 8th timing with some movement on the volume. Definitely not identical to the sound, but hey, it'll do for now. And then right before the verse, we have this really cool downward movement just going down the scale. And then we also have a lot of percussion and impacts, timpani roll, a rising crash, and then a crash when the verse hits. And then there's that marching band triple snare that comes in a lot, which I think gives it that very military Captain America feel. And then for the verse, that leads us into this epic brass progression, which is really driving this part. We have that minor 7th, D to C, ascending feeling coming back again. Just looking at this on the bass line, you get this constant descent here. And then on the melody and top notes, they continue to have these ascending intervals. So you get a really interesting dynamic there, which I think is partly contributing to why this track gives us this feeling of heroic and courage and resilience, but definitely some internal conflict and struggle and the weight of what that duty carries for our hero. And to reinforce that point even further, what's also cool in the verse is these violent spiccatos that come in that are just descending down the scale. You really hear the military captain influence with the marching band snares layered with the shakers and that kind of high frequency. And you layer that with the kick. Right after that verse, we're back to this sense of immediate danger. We have some surdos playing, some different impacts, some brass staccatos. And this sound right here, that probably took me an hour and a half to make because I had no freaking clue what they used. So then I think we really start to pile on the danger and challenge with this part right here. The cellos are now taking over a lot of the melody. And then that's gonna rise right back into that hero feeling. All right, so I ended up doing the rest of the arrangement and build out off camera. I just realized it was going to take way too long to go over each section. But I think you got the gist of a couple of those early musical choices. And then the ending is just really continuing to build and build and build on that for the final epic verse, which you'll hear my version of. Really starting to notice a common pattern of there's a push and pull of ascending and descending with the movement of the music. And Henry Jackman is so good at what he does. And I think for me, he absolutely nails taking what Captain America is and building that out sonically and embodying all of the emotions and characteristics of that hero. So we just wrapped up a pretty intensive mixing and mastering, or at least my attempt to mix and master this. And yes, I did start filming this video in the morning and it is now very late, but that's okay. These things take some time. So now what I'll do is take my version of the track that I rescored and play that over a scene from Captain America Winter Soldier. And we'll see how it fits, and hopefully YouTube doesn't take it down. All right, so there you have it. That was a lot of fun, super challenging. Definitely learned a lot going through that process that I think is definitely going to help inform some of the decisions I make around scoring for the game. So if you made it this far, appreciate it. I know this is a longer video. Feel free to drop in the comment section who's your favorite superhero and why. For me, it's got to be my boy Cap, but I know there's a lot of good options out there. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you on the next video.